Hello, hello, hello. I am live. I hope I am live. I hope I have audio. And I hope that there's someone out there. So if I haven't got audio, can you let me know somehow? In the past, people have had problems getting onto the webinar itself and have to go onto the Facebook Live. I think there's a thing where it says you go onto Facebook Live. I'm not sure if you can let me know on Facebook Live. Actually, maybe if you can email me. If I'm going to just open up my emails. So yeah, let's just assume we've got audio and assume that we're good to go. Because the reason I'm making a big deal of it is because I had a situation recently where I was talking for probably about 15 minutes, and then it just turned out that there was no audio. So that's why I'm making a big deal. So let's just assume that we got audio. So I am going to talk about how you can differentiate yourself from others in your private practice, because I think this is something that we all need to think about. I think it's something we all need to address, because I think that as doctors, we're very bad at doing it. I have looked at a lot of doctors' websites, and also if as a patient looking at for a provider, it's very hard to differentiate between different doctors, and I think it's because we don't like to stand out. I think it's because we don't like to blow our own trumpet, and we think quietly that we're very good, but we don't like to sort of make a big deal of that. So which I understand. I have an element of that myself, but at the same time, we're doing patients a disservice by not letting them know what we can do and what our service is about. And I think that is the way we need to look at it, in order to make sure that we're actually giving patients a good service. Because if others are saying things about the service and we're not, then people will go to the others, where it might be that we would be in a better position to treat those patients. So that is the nubbins of what I'm talking about. The main question that you need to think about is, why would someone choose you over anyone else? Why do people come to see you? And I think if you asked a lot of people that question, they would say, you know, it's because I'm a good doctor, or because I'm got a complication rate that's good, or I'm you know, very ethical, or you focus on your clinical abilities and your clinical outcomes. And I think that is natural for us as doctors to do that. But I think the thing is that patients sort of assume that. They assume that we're going to give them good outcomes. And there's two problems with focusing on the outcome as being the thing, that the way that we are differentiated from others. And the first of that is that it's very hard to demonstrate that you are better than anyone else, certainly for a lot of the work that's done in private practice, because a lot of the work in private practice is the more mainstream, I suppose, work. You don't tend to do bigger, more complicated, more complex cases. And it is hard to show that you are better than someone else in a demonstrable way, with numbers, with figures. It's not like X Factor where, you know, there is a winner and you say, oh, I'm the winner of X Factor, I'm the best singer or whatever. You know, I got a #1 record. It's not like that. There's not a league table of doctors. It's not that easy to say that I'm better than the next person at doing a certain operation. The other problem with that, which is a big problem, is that if you are better at getting good outcomes and getting good results, the problem is that patients will only know that once they've actually had a procedure, once they've actually been to see you, once they've had whatever it is done. And so the problem is that people might not come to see you at all, and you wouldn't know that. If you're making the reason that people should come to see you is how good you are at doing whatever it is you do, unless you tell people about that before they come to see you, they're never going to come to see you in the first place. So you need to try and communicate why you are good or more appropriate at doing the procedure, or being the right person to have the business, and you need to do that before you actually have the procedure. And so that is really the nubbins of how you need to think about your practice and how you need to think about differentiating yourself. And that's where value attributes, that's the concept that I want to bring in, is the concept of value attributes. And the concept of value attributes is, if you think of let's say you had a business and you were giving £50 away if someone paid £10. So let's say someone has to send you a check for £10 and to a PO box, and you will send them a check back for £50. So on the face of it, that's a good business because you're getting £50 for £10. But you might find that not many people take you up on that. That might not be a very successful business because people will be worried about they think it might be a scam. It's not very convenient. You've got to write a check. You've got to send it to a PO box. It's not, don't know where that's going. You've got to wait. You've got to wait for the check to come back. So if while you're doing this, I mean, it might have been a valid business. You might have actually been doing it. But if while you're doing it, someone else comes along and has a business where they say, look, we'll do the same thing. We'll give £50 for anyone who gives us £10. But what we do is you pay your £10 on PayPal and you get your £50 straight as a bank transfer, and it looks like a reputable company. That business is going to do a lot better because it's a lot of a quicker transaction. There's less worry that it's a scam because there's a professional looking company behind it. So they're more likely to be more successful than the first one, even though they're offering the same thing. So those are value attributes. Those are things that the second company has actually added value to their business, and they're more successful than the first, even though the absolute thing that they do is the same. And if you can look at your value attributes and try and focus on your value attributes, then you can actually increase the value of your business, even though the thing that you do is the same. And when people look at that, and Uber is a classic example of a company that's doing the same thing. They're taking people from one place to another place, which is basically what taxis do. But they've looked at the value attributes, and they've actually changed several value attributes compared to a normal standard taxi service. Speed, reliability, accountability, payment ease. It's all on the credit card. You know how much you're paying. Comfort, cleanliness. You review your driver. You can see the driver. You got the number plate of the driver. Choice, you can choose the size of the car. Cost is cheaper than a taxi. There's several reasons why you might want to go with Uber compared to a normal taxi, because they've looked at their value attributes and they've changed several of them, even though the absolute thing that they do, which is making a taxi drive journey is the same. So when it comes to your practice, our practice, what we do, you've got to try and think about the value attributes that you can bring. And these are the value attributes that we have in the sort of thing that we do. The absolute price, price ambiguity, so that people are often worried about whether the price is it, or if there's going to be extra prices if they have problems, or if they need to come back and see you after a certain period of time. Ease of booking, availability, design of your website, how your website looks, has your website been updated, guarantee, refund policy, payment options, a compelling story about me. What's the story? Who are you? What do you stand for? A classic that, I mean, you just got to look at how things sell at auction. If it, a hanky's been owned by John Lennon or something, it sells for a huge amount of money. Just, he's still a hanky, but it's got a compelling story behind it. Affiliations, associations, we all know about that. Crisp, clean photos on your website, good backgrounds of your clinical photos, employee photos, public reviews, speed of response, professionalism when they meet you and when they meet your staff, the customer service, how you're received, not only their reception when they actually come and meet you at the clinic, but their reception maybe when they first inquire, how they're welcomed, your manner, how you are with them, the cleanliness of the place where you see them, and the ambience of the place where you see them. These are all value attributes that you can think about in your practice that can maybe bring more and help you to stand out from other people who are just focusing on the thing that they do. Because if you just focus on the thing that you do, it's really hard to differentiate yourself. Now, if you look at those things, if you look at those value attributes, you'll see that first column, all the ones in that first column, you can actually convey all of those before they've even made contact with you. And the ones in the second column, you can only really convey after they made contact, after someone's had put in an inquiry. And so you need to, you can see that actually you can convey a lot of extra value even before someone has even inquired. Not only can you, but I would say that you need to, in order to get patients to inquire. And you see, I haven't even got any value attributes. I haven't even got a column there for after they've had surgery. I haven't got anything there for a good clinical outcome, no infection, no wound breaking down, no problems like this, because people just assume that's going to happen. They assume they're going to get no wound breakdown and no infection. They assume that. These are the value attributes that will cause them to make a decision whether to choose you or not. No, it's not so much the clinical outcome, especially if you're in a specialty like plastic surgery, where the outcomes are not very clear set. They're not easily defined. You haven't got like mortality rates and easily defined figures that you can actually compare yourself with others. So really, these are the things that people are going to be looking at. A while ago, we were as a group of the Safer Cosmetic Surgery group, and I always thought Safer Cosmetic Surgery was not a good name for the group, because I thought, well, it made it sound like cosmetic surgery is not safe. But they said, oh, well, if you ask people if they want, if safety is important, they'll all say, yeah, safety is important. And I'm sure it is. I'm sure if you ask people, it is important. But but it's not an overriding thing that people actually consciously go for and look for. They don't look for one surgeon that's safer than the other surgeon. They assume it's going to be safe. They're not actually looking for a safer surgeon. If you ask them, do they want it safer? Yes. If you ask them if they don't, if do they want a complication, they'll say no. But they won't. They don't go searching for surgeon with the lowest complication rates, because they just assume they're not going to get a complication. So really, I believe we need to. Obviously, we need to make sure we don't have complications and we give good clinical outcomes. But when it comes to communicating with patients, these are the things that we need to think about and communicate with patients. Think about I wonder if I can move my webcam across, because my webcam's in the way of that. Think about if you were going out and you wanted something to eat. Now, the thing you want to do is have something to eat. You want to have some food that's not off, that's going to be nutritionally adequate to sustain you, and it's going to be reasonably tasty. Now, the reason I'm using this analogy, because I think restaurants it just occurs to me, restaurants are much further ahead than we are when it comes to demonstrating these value attributes. So if you were, for instance, going for a meal with your friends before you're going a night out at the pub, you'd want a different restaurant than if you were going to a restaurant with your wife just after you sold your company for £10 million. So you want a different sort of, but both of you times you want to have a sustained, a healthy food that's not off, that's not going to make you ill, but you want different things with each of those. And so restaurants make it clear at every level, right from the outside. You can see what you're going to get from when you walk along the street. You look at a restaurant like that compared to a restaurant like that. That can give you an idea of what you're going to get. And it's carried on inside. The look, the feel, the ambiance, the look of the menu, the price, if the way the waiters are dressed, the lighting, everything is different between the different restaurants. One restaurant is going to be a totally different thing that they're going to offer than the other restaurant, although the absolute product is the same, which is a meal that's going to give you the nutritional requirements you need to carry on going. And it's really important that the value attributes that the restaurant have got and are portraying are consistent. You want the inside to look at the same as the outside. The menu, the way they're dressed, the price. This restaurant, this nice restaurant here, you want it to look nice inside, and you want it to be more expensive than the other restaurant. It's no good being inconsistent. If it looked nice, if the menu looked great, but if it was cheap, that's not a consistent message, and you wouldn't be happy with that. Similarly, if the restaurant didn't look very nice and was quite bright and airy and quite rough and ready inside, but was very expensive, you wouldn't be happy with that. So they need to be consistent throughout their messages, and that's what a brand is. This is something that I think we need to really think about as doctors. We really need to think about communicating a brand, and I think a lot of people will get a bit worried about when you talk about a brand, because they think about Coca-Cola or Nike or Apple or some big massive company, and they think there's no way I can compete with that. But those restaurants, they've got a brand. Your local butcher, your local coffee shop, everyone, they've all got a brand in their own way. And what you need to think about is getting a brand in your own way. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be global. It just has to be what you stand for, and you need, and what sort of service you want to provide, and what sort of customer you want to treat. And it's really important that you think about what you stand for and what your brand is, so that you can then deliver a consistent message throughout. That means a consistent message before someone comes to the clinic, when they come to the clinic, when they see you, what your pricing structure is, and how you treat them after they've been to the clinic, so they know what to say to their friends. to say whether they go to that restaurant or not if you're the sort of person they're looking for. And we need to really think about how we brand ourselves and how we stand, who we stand for, and what sort of people we want to treat, so that we can then attract those people and let those people know that that is the thing that we're offering. Now, there may be people that don't fulfill that, and that's fine. It's okay. We can't speak to everybody. You've got to you can't be all things to everybody. You have to think about who your ideal patient is and what sort of service you want to offer, and then make a consistent effort to say that that is who you are, that is what you stand for, so that patients can make an informed decision. Because at the moment, when you look at everyone looks the same. Patients can't make an informed decision because everyone looks the same. No one's really standing out in any way at all, and that makes it very difficult for patients. So these are just some words you need. I mean, you need to think about what it is you want to stand for, and it doesn't. It just whatever you feel is right for you. I mean, whatever you feel is comfortable for you, and you just need to think about the attributes of your business and of your practice and how you want to portray yourself to patients. And then you need to, once you've thought about what your brand attributes are, you need to go back and think about how you're going to portray those attributes to patients, preferably before they've come to the clinic. I think we're all very good at being nice to patients, giving them a good service, looking after them, making sure that they can come back, etc., etc. And that is really important. It's really important to sustain that and to get a good reputation. But there's a lot of people out there who are just searching, and if they're just searching, they have got nothing to go on, and we've got to give them something to go on. And so we need to think about what sort of price level you're going at. It doesn't have to be the lowest price, doesn't have to be the highest price, but you have to be somewhere where you want to be, and you have to be consistent with that. And if you're going to go with, for instance, the lowest price, then your attributes after that should be consistent with that. And similarly, if you go with a high price, your attributes should be consistent with that, and you should be thinking about giving more value if you're asking for a higher price. Price ambiguity, people were really worried about that. Now, a lot of us know that yes, of course, it's a fixed price package. Of course, I'm not going to charge you if you have a hematoma or if you have an infection or if you have an extended stay in hospital. But do you communicate that to patients? Do you let them know that? Ease of booking, ease of getting in contact, ease of do you have is your phone answers or your email inquiries answered? Availability, website design, is your website updated? Have a look at it from the outside. Have a look at it how other people look at it. There's nothing worse than, if you're going to have a blog, great, do it, but update it. Something with a blog, the last blog post was like a year ago. It's just don't have the blog post because it looks really bad. Even though you might be a really good surgeon and a really great guy, and you just can't be bothered doing a blog post, well, just don't have it because it looks really bad. Do you have a guarantee? Do you have a refund policy? What if someone comes to see you to pay for a consultation and they're not happy with the information you've given them, or you can't help them? Would you give them the money back? Oh, yeah, of course I would. Well, do you tell them that? Do you tell patients that you give them the money back? Do you let them know that? Well, no, but so they don't know that. So you may be losing people because of that. I don't think any one of these value attributes will necessarily make a huge impact on your practice. We spoke at the BARPS meeting recently about marginal gains, and that's what this is about. Each one of these little things, one of these value attributes will resonate with one patient more than another patient. One patient will be worried about one or two of these, others won't be worried at all about them. So it's all about covering as much as you can to try and get that one that is worried. Well, I'm not going to pay a consultation fee because the last 3 doctors said I need a lift and I don't want a lift or whatever, and I've had to pay out consultation fees to them. But if you are explicitly saying, well, if I won't charge you if you're not happy with my my consultation, or if I can't help you with surgery, that might be the thing that will turn it. Payment options, people ask about that. If anyone's asking about that, if anyone's asking you questions about that, then it's not obvious to them. They've had to get to the stage to ask you about that. So if people are asking you about payment options and things, there may be people out there who've actually looked at your practice and not gone ahead because there's nothing about payment options there. Now, some people will actually take the next step and ask you about payment options because for some reason, maybe some other value attributes have made them want to take that further with you. But if you're getting people asking questions, then you need to think, hold on a minute, that I should have communicated that in my website, in the emails that I send out, whatever, in my Facebook page or whatever, however you are presenting yourself, or my, Spire bio, or wherever, however you're presenting yourself to patients. You've got to look at how you're presenting patients and look at these options, these informations there. Compelling story about me, a little bit about your background, what you stand for, what your values are, what your ethics are, how you want to know, how you want to be known to by patients. And when you look at creating a brand, and creating a brand is really every contact that patients have with your practice. So you come quite late down the line on that, because patients will have a lot of contact with people before they contact you. So as I say, the look of your website, the look of your bio, the look of your photo, the person who answers the phone, the person who meets them at reception, at the outpatients, the person who takes their height and weight, all these people are communicating your brand one way or the other. If they don't know what your brand stands for, then they're just doing what they want or they think, or whatever BMI or Nuffield brand is, they're working to another brand, but they are all communicating your brand whether you like it or not. And so you will find that there is a huge amount of patients out there who will have made a decision before they've even seen you, one way or the other. They might think, wow, and it's fantastic, or they might think, God, this is a bit sloppy, before they've even seen you. And they might have made a decision, I'm going to have surgery with this guy because he is fantastic, and they haven't even seen you yet. If you can get your brand values right and get all these contacts, each contact that you're having with the patient to communicate what you stand for. So that's why the compelling story is important, and you'll need to communicate your story and your ethos and your ethics to the people who are answering the phone, to the people who are talking about you preoperatively, or not even preoperatively, before they even come to see you. So they say, he's very good at seeing his patients post-op. He'll see them for years later. He never charges, and he's very good at doing revisions, whatever. He'll make sure you're happy. These things need to be communicated to the people who are talking to the patients on your behalf. Affiliations and associations, obviously, I think that's no doubt important. I think we're good at that. We're good at making clear those things. Nice photos, employee photos. If you have got someone who always answers the phone, it's great to have a photo of them to give a human touch. If someone sends an email and you're going to get back to them by phone, send them back an email with a little photo of that person. Public reviews, we all know that's important. It's vitally important. It's a story in itself. Public reviews, again, it's relaying your brand, and how do you get the reviews? That's a topic in itself, but in a nutshell, ask for them and make it easy to give them. And then you need to think about all these other things. Speed of response is really important. Do your staff know, or your secretary, know how important it is to get back to people when they inquire? Because if you haven't made that clear, if you haven't got these value attributes clear and the way that your brand stands with your secretary, for instance, you can't really blame them for doing the clinic letters and not answering that email until the end of the day, because you haven't told them that what their priorities are. And so you need to communicate the priorities to your people who are working on your behalf. And you can't blame someone if they're not getting back to people, or if they're only phoning them back once, getting an answer phone, leaving an answer phone message, and then that's it. They never phone them back again. You can't blame your secretary for doing that. If you haven't told them, no, if you don't get hold of them on the first day, can you ring them back the next day, and then the week later, and leave this message with this sort of information or whatever, or send a text, or do whatever you do. But you need to think about it, and you need to communicate it. And then these other things: professionalism, customer service, reception, welcome, cleanliness, ambience. None of them are you. you know, manner. Also, you know, a lot of this is the staff, the people in the clinic. And this is one of the reasons I got my own clinic, because I felt that the hospitals weren't always really good at that. But the point is that actually comes, a lot of that comes quite late, so you don't have to actually worry too much about it, because a lot of it comes quite late on. So, you know, you don't have to particularly worry so much about that, because a lot of the value attributes that you can bring before they've even come to the clinic. Because some of those things, particularly if you're working at a hospital like a BMI or Spire, you're relying on the value attributes of BMI and Spire. You can't change it a great deal, but you can change a lot of the other stuff beforehand. I'm going to be talking about this at length at my next meeting. I have meetings here pretty much every quarter. The next meeting is on December the 9th, Saturday, and it's a day meeting, and we're really going to be talking about how you develop a brand, and how you can make a brand if you're only one person, which all practitioners, we all are pretty much. There's £100 off the registration fee if you register in November. It's a small group meeting, and we're going to be discussing all these things and more, talking about how you would build up your brand, and how you get your message across to differentiate yourself. And the beauty of this is, the absolutely fantastic thing, and the great news is that it's not difficult. None of this stuff is difficult, and the competition is very, very low. No one is really trying to differentiate themselves in any significant way. So even if you implement one or two of these things, you'll find yourself bringing yourself away from others and attracting more of the right patients that you want to attract. So if you're interested in coming along to Birmingham for a day, a Saturday, it's a Saturday daytime, 10:30 till 4:30, or 10 till 4:30. It's on the website anyway, website consulting.com. Be great to see you there, and we'll talk about these issues and more. And if you have any questions, please contact me through the website or through my Facebook group. It will be lovely to hear from you. So I hope that's been helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, and I'll be happy to answer it. And I'll see you next time. Bye.